Let's go Blues.
Let's go Blues.
To all Blues fans, we're bleeding blue with you. Let's go Blues! Let's go Blues! Let's go Blues!
Let's go Blues.
Let's go Blues.
What are you wearing?
A Canadian tuxedo.
Canadian.
I'm a hockey player. Let's go Blues!
Aloha! I screwed up. I tried to get that show going and it wasn't going. But aloha and mahalo and welcome to the post-game show. That's six, count them, 6 in a row. 6 in a row. Wow, I'm excited with the way the Blues played tonight. You got down, you came back, you kept moving it, you kept the cycle going. Wow. And that makes our that drops the magic number down to 7, right? Depending on what the Knights are doing. The Wild don't matter. I was looking at something earlier. Oh man, I got so much going on here. Can't figure it all out. Let's see. Trying to see what the Knights are. I know they play a little bit later. San Jose and Nashville are oh man, I just can't get nothing going. Okay, let me try and pull this up here real quick. I think the Knights play today. Let's see here. Sabres 5-2 over the Maple Leafs. Panthers 3-2 over the Ducks. Oh, I guess okay, Golden Knights in Vegas is a little bit later tonight. Canucks beat them. You know, that drops our magic number down to 5. Right? We could clinch on Saturday. It's still highly possible. Right? You never know. It is possible. The Blues are playing a solid hockey right now. Very, very solid hockey. Minnesota's winning 4-0 last I looked. Haven't seen who the 3 stars of the game are yet. Here we go. Number 3 star with 2 points, I think 2 assists. Pavel Buchnevich, or maybe only 1. No, he had 2. Pavel Buchnevich. Number 2 star playing on defense for the St. Louis Blues with a goal and an assist. Number 47, Torrey Krug. And the number 1 star playing at right wing for the St. Louis Blues with 2 goals, Vladimir Tarasenko. Those are your 3 stars. Boston didn't do what the away team usually does and put one of their guys up. They played a good, solid third period, right? So the first period, oh my goodness, we've got a special guest. He just showed up. Please help me welcome the one and only Mr. Blue and Mr. Anaheim, Terry Yake. Hey, Terry, how are you?
Well, I think after that introduction, I'm better than I should be because that was way too much, but I appreciate it. Thank you.
Terry, you know I'm always going to do that for you, and my co-host Ashley's here.
Hi.
Hello.
We were texting a little bit. That was an impressive second and third period, wasn't it?
Well, especially when the Blues got up. I mean, they literally threw the blanket on the Bruins, I thought. I mean, they've been playing really well offensively, but with that, in playoff hockey, as everyone knows, you got to play well defensively, and I think that's just been outstanding, especially when they get the lead. This team is really getting that feel that I thought we had late in 2019 when they went on to win the Cup. They've got a clampdown mode that's really going to be hard to get through.
Mm-hmm.
6 in a row coming into late. So they've got 9 games left now, with 10 before this one. And I absolutely thought that they could win 7 of them. Well, you just netted one of them, right? Do
Yeah.
you?
Yeah, I
Looking
don't
at
know.
look,
Does it really
right.
matter? I mean, I think they're going to be playing Minnesota in the first round anyway. So, maybe they're going to continue to battle and vie for home ice. But maybe more importantly to me is the theory of the Tampa Bay Lightning the last couple of years. We don't care where we are. We just want to get in. And
Yeah,
more importantly is, can we get in and be healthy? So
yeah,
the questions will be late in the season. Is it time to give, you set Husso up for the first round, if to be ready to play the first couple games, give Binner a few more games to try and see if he can get his confidence back. Is there a night where you want to just tell Ryan O'Reilly or Perron, some of the older guys, if they're banged up at all, take a night off and let's let some of these kids play who've done such a wonderful job of keeping the roster strong and winning hockey games, but trying to really be prepped and primed for that first game of the playoffs?
yeah. No, I'm absolutely. I agree with you on that. We're seeing a Blues team. I mean, that is starting to click when we didn't think it was gonna click. What did you see anything particular tonight that stood out to you, good or bad?
Well, first of all, Robert Thomas is becoming a star. Is that the kind of thing you're thinking of? Because
A
Jordan
little
Kyrou has
bit.
proven in the last year and a half. Yeah.
There was a player tonight that I thought didn't have a great game, but it felt like this play they just didn't match up well with who they were playing against in Boston. Brandon
Well,
Saad.
I think Tom. Yeah, I mean, sometimes he's one of these guys that he may need one of those days off. I'm not worried about Brandon Saad. I think he's going to be a great playoff performer, and you bring him in to help you through the regular season. But this is a guy that you're counting on scoring big goals coming in the playoffs. So I'm not too worried about him, but I'm really excited about the young guys. I mean, Kyrou and Thomas in particular, those two guys are playing unbelievable hockey. Thomas is, I believe they said 33 or 34 points in his last 20 games. I mean, that's a torrid pace. You multiply that by 4, that's a 130-point season he's on the pace for in the last 20. And it hasn't just been a flash in the pan. This has been 20 games with a healthy Tarasenko, a guy who can put the puck in the net. And Thomas is literally making something happen every single shift. Jordan Kyrou's been doing that for a long time this season. And these two young guys are now the leaders on this hockey club and probably the top 2 players offensively. So if we can run with that and you get that youth and energy going in the playoffs, it could do really well for the Blues.
What do you think about the Husso Bennington situation that's going on right now?
I'm not sure what situation you're talking about. Ville Husso's the starter and Bennington is currently the backup. I mean, does it matter? I don't care how much they make. Right now, Husso's the best goalie, and he's going to start. He should start. And Bennington just got to do his best to be a good supporter and be ready to play because we may need him. You just knock on wood. Somebody might tweak a groin or have a bad game and, have a bad couple of goals early in a period, and you throw Binner in there, you got to give the team a chance to win a hockey game. So get your stuff in order. Find that swagger you had in 2019. But right now, I don't think there's any question that Husso's the guy that starts.
I'm with you and I'm not with you. I think one of the things that I've looked at, and maybe I'm wrong, I think that Husso is probably the more technically savvy goalie, where Benner's more of the seat of your pants, move around, impromptu guy. And it feels like some of that's been taken away, and that might be why he's having some issues. But I wonder in the playoffs, don't you have to be more of that seat of the pants guy than the technical guy?
I'm not I wouldn't say necessarily. I mean, I think there's been goaltenders that have had success. All the great ones have had success, no matter what they did. I mean, Dominic Hasek was clearly one of the best goalies to ever play. Was the top goalie in the league, I want to say 6 or 7 times. And he of course was the premier seat of your pants. I'll make a save anyway I have to, literally from the seat of my pants if I need to. But there are other guys who have been very strong and very steady and really led their team to great things. So I'm not too worried about what the style is. I think the coaching staff, the goaltender coach in particular, just needs to fit Binnington into his mold and fit Husso into his mold and allow these guys to do what they do best.
That's exactly what I agree with.
Couldn't agree
I think
more.
That they need to let Bennington become that seat of your pants guy, because that's when he made the great saves and that's when he did the things. So I got somebody here, Ryan Green, who actually is out near you, wants me to introduce you because he doesn't know him. Terry Yake, I don't have the numbers in front of me. I think you played 12 season in the NHL. Is that right?
Yeah, parts of 11 actually. Yeah,
11. He played for St. Louis, Washington. I think Washington, right?
yes, late.
Washington, the Whalers, and Anaheim.
Toronto too.
He was with
And
St.
Toronto.
Louis in '96. That's what I remember, because that's around the time I became a hockey fan. That was like my first full season. So this is really an honor to be on a show with you.
Right?
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
His claim to fame is he has the first ever hat trick as an Anaheim Duck.
That is true. Yes, first game on the road in Madison Square Gardens against the Rangers, the team that went on to win the Stanley Cup that year.
Wow, man, that's just okay. I like this guy, Ryan Green.
Yeah.
Actually, Ryan, I think Ryan is out in either LA or Anaheim, somewhere in that area. And if I remember right, you're in that same general area too right now.
Yes, we are. Absolutely.
Yep. He's working out there.
Oh, Tammy's got a good question.
Go bring it up.
What's your favorite experience while playing with the Blues?
If you had to really narrow it down to one, it has to be probably the series where we won 4 straight against LA. And we were in dire straits, obviously, in the third period of game 3, down 3, I believe, to the Kings. And the famous Jeff Courtnall maybe bumped the goalie accidentally, draws a 5-minute major, and we get the 5-minute power play and actually don't do anything on it for the first 2.5 minutes of it, but proceed to score 4 goals after that, come back, win the hockey game, hold on the last 3 or 4 minutes, and go up 3-0 and eventually sweep the series. So overall, that was probably one of the most exciting and fun times. The backstory with a lot of that is the phone calls we got all night, all the hate calls from the radio stations and the fans to the hotel room. You couldn't even change your name because I think the people at the front desk were just letting phone calls go through to all the players. So I remember picking up the phone multiple times. And finally, we just said, we called the coach and the trainer and said, we're unplugging our phones. So if you call us, we're not here. Come knock on our door if you want us. So
yeah. Well, I can see that.
It was getting out of hand.
All right. Robert Morton said that's the best game he ever watched. Tony Twist was just on the show last week, or this week, actually. Do you have a Tony Twist memory?
Oh, boy. All of them. He sat beside me in the locker room. I mean, he's a one big memory every night. So the best part of Tony was when he was getting in a game, he would be so fired up that he'd be jumping around the locker room. And often I was, centering Twist and Chase, maybe on that fourth line. And, Chaser was, wanted to go out and score a goal, but Tony was like, no, I want you to go out there and spear somebody, jab them, because I need a fight tonight. So can you get that started? And I would just shake my head and go, buddy, like, sometime you're not going to be on the ice to look after me, and this guy's going to get me later. I'm not big enough to fight for myself. He's like, well, just do something, dump it in the corner so I can run somebody because I want to fight tonight. So God love him. He was one of the best. And that's as good a teammate as you can get, a guy that would look after you till the end of the earth and literally love going out and doing it.
Pizza and beer, right? Winner gets the pizza, or winner buys the pizza, loser buys the beer.
With Tony, it was who got the shakes, the Mileplex shakes after the game.
What a great memory, Terry. I know you follow the Blues pretty regularly. With everything, with them getting ready to go into the playoffs, these last 10 games, what are some of your expectations for the Blues? What do you think that they're going? How do you think that they're going to handle upcoming games with the likes? They play Boston again at home. The last 2 games of the season are Colorado and Vegas, and the Colorado might not matter, but Vegas could matter to them. And that with the fight for either home ice, what are some of your expectations for them?
Well, again, I go back to, and I'm not sure exactly how the coaching staff wants to handle it, and I know the players don't necessarily ever want to be out of the lineup, but I would be looking to give each one of those guys, especially in the last week of the season, over the last 2 to 4 games, if your playoff spot is kind of set in stone and you can't catch Minnesota or they can't catch you, and you know that you're set wherever you are in 2 or 3, spot 2 or 3, that I would be trying to give some guys some rest. There's a lot of good players that you could bring up the American Hockey League, some of the young defensemen, give him a chance to play. Make sure Husso plays the exact games he wants to play so that his timing and his rhythm is perfect walking into game one. And make sure that this team is rested and healthy. If anybody's banged up at all, I would ask them to sit down for a couple of games. Listen, these guys don't get paid by the game. I know they all want to get their additional points. But at the end of the day, this is a team that truly has a chance. If they play hockey like they played tonight after they got the lead, this is a team with a ton of 20-goal scorers, a great balanced offense, and it's not going to take much to get this team rolling through the playoffs. And I would make sure everybody's ready to go and not risk it by trying to push and win a couple of games that you don't necessarily need.
Yeah, so there's a chance that they could have 9 20-goal scorers, and that's the most since the 1979-1980 team. And that team had some guys on it. The one thing that they don't have, like nobody has 30 goals. Tarasenko's sitting there at 28, I think.
28 tonight.
The fact that the goals are so spread out, does that bode well for them going into the playoffs?
I think it really does. And Tarasenko's going to get 30 because he gets about 8 chances a game from Robert Thomas, if I may just plug Robert Thomas again. So, but yeah, I think that bodes really well. You know, look what has happened to the Oilers in the last couple of years. I mean, people talk about McDavid and Draisaitl, and they're the 2 of the 4 or 5 best players in the National Hockey League, bar none. There's no question about that. But what happens in the playoffs is these other teams are actually taking liberties on those 2, and they haven't had enough depth to carry them along. If the referees do what they've done in the playoffs to McDavid and Draisaitl and put the whistle away, which is really kind of crazy, and it's actually wrong, they're going to have a hard time winning hockey games. And it's great during the regular season, but this kind of depth, when you have 3 lines, possibly 9 guys that all scored 20 goals, there's not one single line to check. I laugh sometimes when the announcers are calling a game and they actually say, this is the first line. They call Ryan O'Reilly the first line. And yet the leading scorer on the team is Kyrou, and he's playing on the 3rd line. And
actually, the leading scorer is Tarasenko now.
Okay, so he was until Kyrou got hurt. And then Tarasenko and Thomas are on the 2nd line, and they're considered the 2nd line. You know, yeah, and rightfully so, Ryan O'Reilly with his resume, playing with Perron and the Conn Smythe and everything else, deserves to be a first-line guy. But your leading scorer was on the 3rd line, and your leading goal scorer was on the 2nd line with one of the best players in Thomas right now. So that's just a difficult lineup to stop, and I really like the chances of them going into the playoffs. I mean, nothing in the West is going to be easy. Nothing in either division is going to be easy. You look at some of those playoff matchups, and you literally they're all a coin flip. And this isn't the 80s when you could predict with almost certainty who is going to win a playoff round. There's really there's no guessing at all right now. It's just you're going to have to go out, and the first round, honestly, is going to be as hard as the 2nd, 3rd, or the finals.
Oh, I'm with you there. And I actually think that this is going to be harder than 19. I think the matchups are going to be harder than 19 with one exception. I think that the matchup against the Wild, as long as you don't get it in your head, is going to be a little bit easier than the matchup with the Jets was in 19. I mean, the Wild, they're 12-1-2 in the going all the way back to 19. So they've got the Wild's number, and if they can beat them again coming up on Saturday, that might bode well for them going into that first round matchup.
Yeah, that's possible, and I like to think that, but don't forget you can't look forward past anybody, and of course Minnesota deserves to be where they are. I didn't think they were as good a hockey team on paper as they've shown to be on the point standings. Now that doesn't mean that team is built for the playoffs yet. I have only seen them play probably half a dozen times this year. They're a good team. They're a quick team. They seem to keep coming at you. I'm not sure they got the depth that the Blues have, and I think we're going to have to count on that depth to get that series won.
Oh, there's a good question.
Hank is asking, how could the Blues beat Colorado in a 7-game series, assuming we meet up with them?
Well, you're going to probably meet up with them in the 2nd round if you get through the 1st round, because Sutter from Calgary had a great quote when he said the team that faces Colorado in the 1st round is just a waste of 8 days because they're going to be gone in 4 games straight. So I think Colorado is going to be the team to beat. And if you can get through them, that may be the toughest series in the entire playoffs. But to beat them, you're going to need everything to be good. Your top scorers, everybody's going to have to score. The power play is going to have to be sharp. The penalty killing is going to have to be lights out. Your defense is going to have to be good top to bottom because they have a great lineup with depth as well. and of course your goaltending is going to be off the charts. So I mean, really, it's kind of cliche, but everybody's going to be off the top of your game. And need I say, maybe you have to hope for somebody to be a little banged up after the first round, like maybe one or two of their top players. And Landeskog is out right now. Maybe he's not back. And if you have a banged up McKinnon, Rantanen, or Makar, that could also help as well, and maybe give the Blues the edge they need to get past a team like that.
Here's a good question for you. What do you think of Thomas and his development coming from another center's point of view, and what's his ceiling?
Well, his ceiling, I think he's proven in the last couple games, is he's got a potential to be a 100-point guy, especially if they can keep a guy like Tarasenko around that can shoot the puck the way he does and scores goals. The natural goal scorer, Thomas is the natural playmaker. He's going to get his 20 goals as well, and he's going to get a couple, but boy, oh boy, is he turned into a passer and a guy that can create opportunities. Every time he touches the puck, he seems to make something good happen. I think his limit is clearly over 100 points, which is hard to say because there hasn't been 100-point scorers. There haven't been many of them for the Blues for a long, long time.
Long time, yeah.
He could be the guy that could get there. I think both he and Kyrou have that kind of potential with a full season and the right players to play with. So that's quite a statement. This kid's still pretty young, but he's showing signs of doing some stuff that's been unbelievable. In the last year or so, 2 years, I would say his speed has improved immensely. His tight turning and his edge work in the corner has been phenomenal. And he's obviously improved his strength just a little bit. And that's just allowed him to do a whole numerous line of other things that have just made him an unbelievable offensive threat.
Oh, I guess Landeskog just had knee surgery. Will he be out for the remainder of the season? It depends on what kind of surgery it was.
Yeah, I think they said there was a chance he would be back at the start of the playoffs. So I'm not sure if that's
he might have just had a scope then.
Yeah, it's possible. I'm not sure if that's still the case or not.
Yeah. Well, I had a question for you and I just lost it. No. So one of the things that I'm seeing is, and I wonder if you would do this. I think that as good as Thomas is, that you're hurting Kyrou by not putting Thomas and Kyrou on the same line. I would bring Bushnev or Barbashev back down and let the Russians, or what I call the Spetsnaz line, together, and then put Kyrou and Thomas with either Shen or Saad. Would you agree or disagree with that?
No, I would not separate Thomas and Tarasenko right now. Not the way those two are playing together. The amount of great plays that Thomas is making, Tarasenko is number one. He's your best pure goal scorer. And the amount of opportunities Robert Thomas is creating is unbelievable. The reason I would not necessarily put Thomas and Kyrou together is because offense is often generated around one player. One player is the guy you want carrying the puck up the ice. On the Thomas line right now, it's Thomas. He carries the puck majority of the way up the ice. He makes the play. He does the tight turn. He looks for Tarasenko. Tarasenko's the shooter. When you look at Kyrou, he's the guy that wants the puck. If you put them together, there's not enough puck time for both of them. I like them on different lines right now. But, of course, the coaching staff has been playing with this kind of stuff for the entire season. They're looking for the best combinations. They're looking for the combination that gets you the ultimate success for the entire team. And right now, I think Thomas and Tarasenko have got some great chemistry. And I like Kyrou on a line with another good player or two, which those guys are the top nine all are, because it's his puck going through the neutral zone. And everybody should be looking to get him the puck and let him be the one carrying it through the neutral zone and making the play coming over the line.
Wow, I never looked at it. That's amazing.
That's a good, yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question. Kyrou seems to be in a little bit of a funk lately. It could be the injury or the illnesses that he gets, but Guy and I were discussing the last couple shows that maybe it's because he hasn't played this many games on an NHL level because of the shortened seasons. Do you think that might be something that might need him to have the break as we get towards the playoffs?
Yeah, it's possible, but I think Kyrou is probably the one that maybe needs to play because he has just missed a few games due to illness. Now, if he's still not 100%, whatever the illness was, you got to know that you're playing every game at 100%. And if you feel sick a little bit and you're missing 10%, that's a huge gap. That's a huge difference between what you had and what you currently have when you're on the ice. So it's going to be really difficult for him if he's feeling under the weather at all. I would make sure he's healthy. And again, I'd be monitoring him on a daily basis and make sure he's healthy come the end of the month. You still have almost 3 weeks of season left, plenty of time for him to get his health and his conditioning back and his game timing back. So for him missing those days and those games, he probably wants to get his timing back and get out there and play. I would, he's a young guy. I think he's going to recover real quickly, but you got to get him over that illness and get him back on the ice and let him get his timing back, and he's going to be just fine.
Okay.
No, I'm with you. Yeah, wow, man, your point of view is great. That first Tarasenko goal, the goal in the second period, or was it the third period? The second period, right?
Second.
Late in the second, yeah.
Yeah, late in the second. Kyrou comes down, makes a beautiful pass to Buchnevich, who gets over to the right, makes just I don't know how he does it, but he gets it over to Thomas. Thomas does a 360 spin to Tarasenko, who does a 180 for the back of the net. Do they practice that, or is that just natural ability to make something like that happen out of nowhere?
You spend enough time on the ice, you practice all those kinds of things. And of course, they've done it and been in that situation, but that's some tremendous edge work. And if you notice on that goal, if you rewind it far enough and you go back to just inside the blue line, Thomas made 3 incredible plays on there. First of all, he pushed Marchand out of the zone and stole the puck from him. Now, Marchand was playing with the puck at the blue line, thought he could make a play and muscle his way by Thomas, and Thomas just absolutely manhandled him, which is impressive in part one. And then he went through the neutral zone, made a great move, shoveled the puck to Buchnevich, who went wide, and then Thomas makes the unbelievable spinorama pass through his legs, albeit just slightly behind Tarasenko, but he knew he was there and found the open guy, sucking the defenseman to him. So 3 incredible plays by Thomas, and then a remarkable pick the puck up, spinorama, and of course, do what Tarasenko does best, just fire to his spot right off the turn and surprise the goalie, and of course, hit his spot and score an incredible goal. 4 really nice plays all around. The easiest part of that whole thing was probably the pass by Buchnevich.
Yeah. Oh, I guess I'm biting my tongue again. Sorry, guys. I do that. What has made Tarasenko? What makes it? Who does he remind you of, and what makes him so good?
Well, he reminds me of great shooters. Brett Hull. Alex Ovechkin, guys like that. Guys who just find time and space, and when they get it, they don't need much time to get that puck off, and they shoot it, and they shoot it with a purpose. Every time they shoot it, they've got a hole. They're not necessarily looking, but they're finding their targets. So, you look at some of the goals that they score, even the second one with tonight on the 3-on, it was kind of a 3-on-2. It was actually a 3-on-1. It was a really nice passing play. It goes back to Buchnevich again. And he instantly knows that if Tarasenko opens up and I get it to him, he's going to hit the spot. And that's the play to do. So he fakes the shot, gives it right back to him, puts it right in the wheelhouse. And that's an easy shot for Tarasenko. He's probably done that one 50 times of practice for the last 10 years. He's done thousands and thousands of those. So that shot's not going to miss. And there's just really not an opportunity for the goalie. It's a miraculous save if you get over there and make that save, because you still have to honor the shooter who's standing right in front of you, just inside the top of the circles. You start cheating, he's going to easily throw it offside on you in a foot space inside the post. So you have to honor him, and then you just can't get over to stop the one-timer. So good play all around, but that's what makes Tarasenko dangerous. He can fire that puck at any time from any spot, hit a hole, and force the goalie to make a good save on him. And more often than not, that puck finds the way to the back of the net.
Robert Morton asks a good question. Terry, does 91 stay here after this year? Please say he's coming back. Lie to me. I don't care. LOL.
No, I sure hope he does. I don't know. I'm not sure exactly what the Blues are going to need to do contract-wise. I haven't looked at their cap situation and where they're looking, who's up, who needs to be signed, who needs a new contract. But, I mean, I can't imagine that Tarasenko could think the grass is any greener anywhere else when he's got a young guy like Thomas. And even if it's not Thomas, you still have O'Reilly, Shen, and other centermen on this team to play with. He's got some Russian compadres there. I mean, I think life is pretty good in St. Louis right now. And the teams welcome him back every night that he's a star. And he has an interview with Darren Pang after the game. The fans go crazy. St. Louis loves him. And I'm not sure why he would want to leave. If they can make a contract work, I can't see Tarasenko leaving. I think he stays. and continues to, fight for a cup, because this team is back in a window right now. And we call a window of years of possible winning a cup. And this team's in that window again right now with this hockey club. And, they've got the depth, and it's going to require players like Tarasenko. And if the Blues don't give him the money, they're going to want to find somebody else, which means they got to go out in the free agent market and find somebody else that can do what he does. So you may as well keep him there, because he's not only a fan favorite, but I'm pretty sure everybody in the locker room likes him as well.
Yeah, I think he's become that silent leader. The guy that he wears an A, but inside the locker room, you got to know. And I like, win or lose, he always stands right there at the door and pats everybody as they go in.
Yeah,
right?
Everybody
has
has
been doing that for years.
Right, they have their superstitions. Crosby does the same thing. Different guys do the same thing for each team, and it's nice to see. And that's just one of the things that he likes to do. And nobody goes by without giving him a high five. So they respect him, and the way he's playing the game right now. This isn't the Tarasenko we had the first couple years. It was a 40 goal scorer. This is a 30, 35 goal scorer, but he's actually playing at both ends of the rink, which is more of the 2019 era St. Louis Blues, both ends of the rink. And, we'll give up a half dozen goals on Tarasenko's totals to have a guy that does what he does defensively now and back checks whenever it's needed.
Yeah, I've seen that. Could or would you play in today's league?
Could or would I? Of course I would. You see how much money these guys make? Now, could I? Now, that's another question. I like to think that the game was more suited to my style, which was, I wasn't the biggest guy in the world, but, for the most part, I could skate, and I think it would have suited me very well. But these guys are all pretty good now, and I'd like to think that I could play. Maybe not at 53, but maybe in my 20s I could have done it.
That's what I figured. Now, I got a question for you. I have an answer, but I want to ask you and see, is there anybody on this team that reminds you of you? Now, I have one. I have somebody that reminds me of you. I want to know if you think there's anybody out there that reminds you of you.
Well, let's see. I was thinking a year or two ago, I was thinking it was more like I was like a Robert Thomas mold, but he's far surpassed anything that I was able to do. His skill level and his edges and everything else have gone off the charts good. So I was more of a player like him, where I passed first and should have shot more. But Robert Thomas has far exceeded anything I could do. So I'll be interested to hear what you have, because I'm not sure it's an easy comparison when you start comparing in different generations. The game changed so much.
But there's a player out there
years.
in today's game, on the Blues right now, that when he plays, I think of how you played, and that's Nathan Walker.
Ah, okay.
Gritty, gets down there, can score goals, makes sure that everybody knows what they're doing, and doesn't give up on plays.
Well, that's I'll take that as a compliment, because I've really enjoyed watching him play. He's been an awful lot of fun. I mean, if you watch him every single night, I mean, fans, this is the kind of player, if you're watching a hockey game, you should tell your kids to watch. That's the kind of player you should model yourself after. Not everybody gets blessed with the skill and the shot of Tarasenko, or the hands, the vision, and the edge work of Robert Thomas and Kyrou. Ryan O'Reilly with size, strength, and it's just pure determination. But everybody can go out there and move their feet and make stuff happen and get their nose dirty like Walker does. And boy, oh boy, if he's not the model of every hockey player who maybe isn't the most blessed in the entire world, I don't know who is, because love watching him play. And you watch, he's probably going to be in the lineup come first night of the playoffs. He's earned himself a spot on this roster, and he deserves to be out there.
Right. There's one other guy that I want to know your opinion on. Another guy. I love this guy, and I call him the Torpedo. What do you think of Torpachenko?
He's been unbelievable. I actually played with his dad in Springfield in 1992 maybe. And he was a very good player as well, but his kid has really become a remarkable player. Like, he's a big guy, skates really well, and he's got a little bit of that Walker feel too, just with like an extra 6 inches on him. So that's a heck of a combination, and it's really dangerous. This guy starts to develop and continues to work on his skills over the summer and keeps that tenacious speed and attitude towards him. You watch, he could be the kind of guy that turns into a Barbashev, where he ends up being a third line guy, kills penalties, and all of a sudden you look up and he's got 20 goals. This isn't something we expected from Barbashev 2 or 3 years ago. I don't think anybody called him a 20-goal scorer a few years ago, but he's earned himself a spot every single night. He works his butt off, blocks shots, makes plays, finishes checks, not afraid to do the dirty work. Well, that got him ice time, and ice time brought confidence, and confidence brought a little bit of offensiveness, and all of a sudden he gets thrown up on the first couple lines, and now he's finding himself a regular on the top 9, and with that comes some offensive. Because of the depth of the Blues comes more offensive responsibility, and he's answered the bell, and suddenly he's a 20-goal scorer. That's the kind of thing and the kind of evolution I'd like to see Tarasenko get.
Yeah, I'm with you. I can see Tarasenko I can see him being a 30-goal scorer, to be honest with you. I think he's got to score his touch. He just doesn't have somebody with him to help him mature that touch.
Yeah, and it'll take some time and some confidence, maybe like Barbashev did. But as he gains ice time, there's a possibility you could see him jump in and be that kind of player and just have have a great couple of years, build confidence, find himself in maybe in a shortened lineup, moving up the roster a little bit, and then the coaching staff starts to believe and know that he can do it on a top 9 situation. And there you go. You get a guy like Jordan Kyrou or Robert Thomas feeding you, and suddenly you've got a half a dozen or 8 goals in 15 games, and coaching staff says, wow, this guy can score. And then you start feeling it, and things go good from there.
Yeah. Ashley, you want to ask Ryan Green's question?
Sure. Ryan asks, when a goalie gets replaced, so to speak, like Bennington did, does that wreck a guy's ego and maybe it gets stuck in his head?
Well, these guys have grown up and they made it to the National Hockey League by shaking off all the bad goals that they've scored, right? Like a wide receiver who gets burned for a touchdown, you got to shake it off and go right back out and do it. I don't think getting pulled for a goaltender is anywhere on the top of their list of favorite things to do. It's one of the worst things that could probably happen to them. But they are very strong mentally, probably stronger mentally than most of the players are. And they try not to take things and let them bother them. They understand that there's only one goalie in the net and there's 2 of them on the roster and a half dozen in the organization. So you're fighting for that net every single night. And when you lose it, especially in the middle of the game, it's got to really, really suck. But they're very strong. They learn to put things behind them, like they put a good goal, a bad goal, whether it's the best player in the world scoring on you on a breakaway or you let one in from the blue line, a floater from the blue line. They've got to let it go.
Don't talk about that.
It happens. This shit happens. So they've got to be prepared to let that stuff go, and they learn how to deal with it so that they're prepared to never let it happen again, at least the rest of that night. So I think these guys hate it, but they've found ways to put it behind them, which is impressive in itself.
What I'm guessing you've watched Benner a lot this season. What have you seen in this game that's wrong, that's put him where he is, and there's a perception or a narrative that the team doesn't play in front of him well? What do you think causes that?
That could have been part of it, but remember, Benner was a starter from the start of the season, and when you're the starter, you get all the tough games, you get all the top teams, and until Husso became the number 1 goalie, which was probably a third or a midway through this season, Binnington was getting all the good games, all the hard teams, and Husso was probably getting the what you might call the easier matchup, the one that we weren't sure if he was ready to play. Now, Husso played lights out, earned the net. But what I saw from Benny was, he just seems to be sliding out of the net a little too much. And for some reason, some of the pucks that were hitting him, he was not corralling. In 2019, he was not only athletic, making unbelievable saves, but he was like Velcro when that puck hit him and it wasn't going anywhere, or he found ways to deflect it to the corner. Those kinds of things, when you collect a good shot and you don't leave a rebound for anybody, build you confidence. And then he had that swagger. You would see him make the save and then do his little circle in the corner and come back to the front of the net. And you knew he was full of confidence. Somewhere along the line, he lost that. I'm not sure if there was a goaltender change in style from the goaltending coach, or if it's just something that happened because the team wasn't as good defensively. Last year was not a great year as well, but you lose Alex Pietrangelo. In my mind, one of the best defensive forwards in the game, a guy who basically never lost a battle in the corner, yet never had to fight with anybody one-on-one. Always made the first outlet pass and relieved a lot of pressure. You lose him. Falk wasn't playing really well last year, and things just changed a lot. This team was a different looking team. Now the team's starting to play better, and with that, you see Husso enjoying some success, and I think you see Benner finally starting to get some of that confidence back that he had a couple of years ago because of how well Falk is playing, and Parayko, and now Scandella's back, and maybe the addition of Leddy is going to add a little bit more confidence to the team, and a few more shots will hit him, and if he doesn't corral the rebound, the defense does the job in front of him, and he gains that confidence back and becomes the goalie that we had in 2019.
I'm dead on with you there. What do you think of Chief as a coach and a leader?
Well, he's clearly one of the best in the game. I mean, you don't get this team to the Stanley Cup Finals from last place in 2019 and win the cup, and then go through a couple of tough years with a little changeover in the lineup, and build it right back up to where it was, where this team is a true contender again right now. This team has got a lot of depth. He gives this team offensive freedom, which is something that as a player I would have loved, and I think any offensive player would love. And when I say offensive freedom, you see these guys not afraid to try guys one-on-one. He's allowed these guys to play well, play at their best, and be creative offensively because he's confident in their defensive structure and what he's telling them to do defensively. I mean, they're always going to be back. They track the puck really well. Their defense buy time when the forwards are caught a little bit, and they buy time and keep everybody to the outside until they get help and everybody comes back as fast as they can. So to be able to give a team offensive freedom, something that they probably didn't have under, their previous coach in Hitchcock, this team likes playing for him. And when you got somebody that can give you that, you can have some staying power. And that's why certain coaches, Barry Trotz and John Cooper, they have staying power because they play a style of game, or they coach a style of game that the players are happy to play and they love to play, and they know it's the right way to play. And there isn't something in the system that they say, this is stupid. You're going to have staying power because the players are going to buy in, night out. And if you get the right guys, you can build a good team and be successful year in and year out. And he's done that in the last 3-4 years here.
Oh, great analysis there. I had a question and it just slipped my mind. So I'll let Ashley ask one and then I'll get back to it.
The playoffs are coming. Who do you think that Chief will start in the first round?
No question, it'll be Husso. The lines probably won't change much from what they are right now. The defensive group is going to be a little bit interesting. Mikko Mikkola is a player that between he and Bertuzzo, I'm not sure who's going to be in. And actually, I like the kids that we're playing this year as well. I think we'll see a few more of them as the season comes down to its final few games. And, I don't think Craig Berube's going to be worried about putting any one of them in. But, you're going to see a lot of the top four in the playoffs, and that'll be Leddy and Falk and Parayko and Scandella, whatever setup they have them together. And then Krug being probably 5. So whoever the 6th defenseman is, those 5 are going to lead the team, and we'll see what's going on. But, I think the offensive lineup you have right now, I don't know if we can put much better on the ice than we saw tonight. I mean, it's a pretty good group, and I have full confidence that group can get it done with Husso in the net.
Yeah, Husso, I like Mikkola. He plays angry. I agree with that. My question that I was going to ask that went was, what did you think of the trade for Leddy? Do you think it was we gave up too much, or was it good, or what did you think of that trade?
I think it was a trade that tells us that Doug Armstrong and probably the coaching staff included believe that the window is open and that the Blues should continue to try and go for it this year. There's no sense in waiting for tomorrow when today there's an opportunity today. So I think they said that we have a chance to win. We could use a little more depth on defense, and that's what they got when they went with picking up Leddy. I mean, I didn't like losing Sundqvist. He was a key role, but I think the play of McEachran and Tarasenko, the guys we talked about earlier, and even a Nathan Walker, afforded the Blues the opportunity to do that because our fourth line is still a dominant line. Sundqvist was a big part of that. He was a great penalty killer. but they've got other guys. Robert Thomas has taken over penalty killing. You still have Barbashev. O'Reilly's one of the best in the game. So I thought they probably thought they could afford to lose the penalty killer in Sundqvist, because the fourth line is now more of a young kids energy line, and those guys flying around with the two big wingers, Torpchenko and McEachran hitting guys, and Walker, playing with that kind of energy. You can afford to probably do a move like that. I thought it was a lot to give up for Leddy, who's possibly a rental for this year, but I think it's a move to show the team that we're here to try and win again this year.
I've always wondered about that. Now, when it was leading up to the trade deadline, I asked a question. It actually got on NHL Network, but I didn't get to see the answer. How many times is a top 6 forward or a top 2 to 4 defenseman been traded at the deadline and actually the teams won the cup? They couldn't give an answer to that. So why is it that teams make so many trades at the trade deadline when in most actuality it doesn't work?
Well, I wouldn't, it's hard to say. I mean, I haven't gone through and done the math on it either, but there's a lot of teams make deals at the deadline to try and fill a hole. I mean, I think I'd have to try and think back. So Tampa Bay won the last couple of years, and they got Ryan McDonough a couple of years ago. And whether it was the year they won the cup or the following year, he turned out to be a big piece of that cup. So teams do make changes, and sometimes they feel it's a necessity. And we'll see if it works out for the Blues this year. But somebody's going to win the cup this year, and almost all the top teams make big deals. Whether it was Florida made deals, Colorado made deals, the Blues made deals, Minnesota made 3-4 deals. Vegas made deals. They made some of theirs earlier, i.e. Jack Eichel, which they knew was going to be coming in around trade deadline, either way. So a lot of the top teams made deals, and we'll see if it works out for somebody. It's going to work out for somebody.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I didn't think Leddy was a top 4 guy to begin with, or even a top 2 guy, but that's where I kind of see him slotting now. I can see him and Parayko together now that Parayko seems to get his game back. I'm wondering if Parayko was still suffering a little bit from the back and from COVID.
That could be possible. And again, he could be one of those guys that if that is the case, I'd be looking to sit him down for a couple of games and just say, get your legs under you, take a break, ride the bike for 15 minutes and go watch the game up in the stands and enjoy the night tonight, because we need you ready for game 1. So these guys don't like that, like hearing that, but as an organization, sometimes those are decisions that are better made. And if you have Parayko and Leddy perhaps playing together, I think that reminds me of Parayko and Bouwmeester being the shutdown pair.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got Falk playing with Scandella potentially. That looks
no,
like
it'd be
Petro,
Krug. We play him with
Krug.
Krug.
All right.
Yeah.
So either Krug, or it doesn't really matter who the other guy is, but that looks like that Falk is playing much like Petro was playing in 2019, and it looks much like the Petro combination, and you can throw those guys out second and help him run your power play. So, the defense has got some possibilities and some good chemistry options.
Mm-hmm.
I saw that power play goal coming, and I sent you this, and I talked about it at the first intermission. I had said that Boston was playing real aggressive on the power play, and the Blues need to take advantage of that. And that's exactly what Krug did. I mean, he got him, seen him come up, open up the middle, and he went right through the middle and fired that. What is it with the power play, or with teams, when teams get aggressive like that, how can teams take advantage of them?
Well, when you get aggressive, they start moving the puck around quicker and quicker, and the Blues have done that really well this year. It seems like they're making passes that are unnecessary, but they're not, because as you move the puck from side to the top, to the other side, sometimes to the goal line, and then right back up around the circle, even if the passes are completely unnecessary and they're not accomplishing anything, they're keeping those forwards and the 2 defensemen from actually moving. And they're just kind of stuck, because the second you think about going, you take one step towards the player who has the puck, he's already passed it to a guy who's wide open on the far side. And even though it's around the outside and it's not a threat, you get that box settled down a little bit, and then they stop moving, and then all of a sudden you sneak somebody into the middle of it, and then there's that bumper play that we've seen Ryan O'Reilly score on so many times, where it goes from sideboard to the goal line and then gets basically one touch straight to the slot, and then you got a backdoor guy as well. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that you can do if you can get the defense to stand, or the defensive guys to stand around, and the Blues seems to have done that, moving it around. It seems to be a trend around the league. I see Tampa Bay doing it, Colorado, Edmonton, and the top 3-4 power plays in the National Hockey League are all doing something very similar. Now you got to do it and execute. Because if you start bobbling pucks or make bad passes, you're really giving the defensive team an easy out. So it takes a lot of skill, and it takes some confidence and practice and making sure you're doing it right, because you could throw it around for 20 seconds, which is what they often do. And if you lose it, you don't even take an attempt on the net. The other team's got it down the ice, and you got to go all the way back, do your breakout, and everybody does the drop pass now. So it takes 25 seconds to get that puck back in the zone. Now you've killed the entire power play because of one bad pass. So you've got to really be able to execute. And the Blues have enough skill out there now that they can do that on a regular basis with both units.
There's a stat I like to call overall special teams, and I take the net power play and the net penalty kill and add them together. The Blues are third in the league I think the number was 111.5. Carolina was best at 118, and the Rangers were second at 111.8. So just I mean, the Blues and the Rangers right at the same point. How important will special teams be in the playoffs?
Well, first of all, I hate to tell you, but that number has been used for 40 plus years. Your penalty kill and your power play. So I don't know that you invented it. It's something that if you can get the power play and penalty kill numbers to add up over 100%, you're doing pretty well. But I think the specialty teams are going to potentially be the difference in the series. I mean, these two teams are going to be very evenly matched. And if the power play scores you that one extra goal, that's going to be the difference in a lot of games. And if your penalty kill does a job. So that's where I think the difference will probably be between the Blues and the Wild in the series, is the fact that the Blues are a better power play team and hopefully a better penalty kill team. When you can throw Kyrou out and he's on your second unit, or Thomas and he's on your second unit, that's pretty impressive, because your first unit's got, the veteran guys and O'Reilly and Perron and Tarasenko, and then the kids come out and throw it around like they've been throwing it around and make stuff happen. That's a deadly combination. So if one of them's not going, the coach has no problem throwing the other guys out, and that's going to be really hard for another team to stop.
Yeah, there's one question on the board that I wasn't sure if I was going to ask you, but I'm going to go ahead and ask you anyways. And again, this is just his opinion. Why do you think O'Reilly got the captain over Tarasenko?
Probably for things that were, he does in the locker room. I mean, Ryan O'Reilly is the true consummate professional. He works his tail off every single day. And, it was probably a coin toss. It didn't really matter, but the decision had to be made one way or another. And Ryan O'Reilly is the kind of guy, he just won the Conn Smythe the year before, deservedly so. It was either between him or Bennington probably who should have got it. And, it's just an opportunity to see your team take the shape of the guy who wears the C. And Ryan O'Reilly came to St. Louis and immediately played what everybody thinks is Blues hockey. And that's blue-collar hockey, hardworking both ways, the kind of hockey that Craig Berube likes to see, loves to coach. And I think Ryan O'Reilly epitomized that, and that's probably the reason he got it.
And at the same time, Tarasenko was hurt with that surgery, and they didn't know where he was going to be at the end of the when he was going to come into the season. So I think that has something to do with it. Here's a good question, and we've had a couple of discussions about this on the show. What do you think about the 3-on-3 overtime?
I still love it. It's been a long time now. It's been going for quite a while. I love it. I wish they would increase it to 10 minutes. Yeah. Force the teams to play more players in the 3-on-3. The only thing I would maybe look at tweaking for the next generation or 10 or 15 years in the 3-on-3 is some sort of shot clock, or some sort of, you can't bring it past center ice maybe once you get it in the zone. Like in basketball, you can't bring it past center court once you get it in the zone. Just something to keep these deep regroups from really slowing it down. But I know you see a lot of the same players in 3-on-3. I'd love to see him increase it to 10 minutes and see if we can eliminate even more shootouts. And I love the shootouts for entertainment quality. I just don't like points being awarded for a one-on-one competition. When we can increase it to 10 minutes, maybe get a couple more players forced into getting a shift in the 3-on-3, see if we can't get a goal scored with, we'll call it 8 players on the ice, three players from each team and a goaltender. It's much better seeing a goal scored and points earned that way in my mind than it is with a shootout. As much as I love to watch the shootout, I try not to miss any of them. I'd still rather see them scored in 3-on-3 with guys on the ice.
I'm in agreement with you there. I think that it should be 4-on-4 for the first 5, and then after the 5 minutes, the next break, you drop down to 3-on-3.
That would be a better solution, but it's still they're not going to be as many goals scored 4-on-4. I mean, you may as well just go straight to 3-on-3. You want to end the game. That's the whole idea. So let's just go to 3-on-3. Let's push the pace a little bit, and let's force the players to stay inside half court. Let's
half
call
court,
it center
yeah.
ice. Before they can. And if
I'm
they
not a
regroup,
fan.
just
Not a fan of
3-on-3?
3-on-3 at all, but if they implemented some of your ideas, I think I would be.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing about 3-on-3 is it gets a little slow when they start taking it out of the zone and going all the way to center, and guys are forcing them up the board, so they just pull out. If you could continue to force them, knowing they couldn't go past center, or there was a whistle, and then another face-off, maybe even in the team that took it past their own center, they had a defensive zone face-off at that point, then maybe teams wouldn't do it so much, because it's an automatic face-off in your defensive zone, and you can't change, and the offensive team can. The team that force you off over your red line, similar to the icing call. So something like that, to me, would force the teams to play and press the issue a little bit more, and I think you'd see a lot more excitement, a lot more action.
I do like that. This is a good question. We saw this happen today. Do you think a team should be penalized for an offside miscall by a linesman? So in the first period, Torrey Krug had a goal that got called back because it was offsides. Now, if it was offside, it was offside by a minuscule amount. Do you think that replay should be part of that?
Yes, I still think that they need to get the call right. I have no problem with the way they're doing it. Honestly, as the NHL continues to evolve and more cameras are implemented and they've got the iPads on the bench, I think that decision is going to become faster and faster. I almost think that I would rather see the teams have multiple call opportunities. So, for example, right now, if you miss the call and you make a mistake, yes, you get, and it's not offside, you get a penalty and you lose your timeout, and then you can't call it later in the game, which may not be fair if a referee makes a blatant mistake and everybody on the ice, including the replay, clearly shows it was offside, but he didn't call it and they score a goal on that rush. I don't think it's fair that you cannot call for a replay analysis on that because you made a mistake earlier in the game.
I thought with the penalty, and I have to go back and look at it. I thought with the penalty, you didn't lose your timeout. You lost your timeout with a interference call, but not with the offsides. I have to go back and check on that.
I could be mistaken, but I thought you lost it with the offside as well. So
yeah, my problem with the penalty is I think it's too much. Especially if the goal stands, to go right back. I think it should be a 10-minute misconduct. But and this is a weird one, but you have to submit a list of 5 players to the other team, and they submit. So I submit. I'm the coach. I submit a list of 5 of your players, and you have to pick one of those players that I submit to serve the 10-minute misconduct.
So you could basically ask for their top 5 players to sit for 10 minutes
well, only one of them, but yeah.
No, well, one of the top 5.
One of the top 5 would sit for a minimum of 10 minutes. Right? I think that's I think because
it is actually a better idea. I just don't think the Players Association would go for it. I'm pretty sure all the top players in the league would say, no, we're not going to sit for 10 minutes because our coach makes a mistake and call it a penalty.
No, I mean,
they do run the Players Association, so I don't think that's very interesting. And it's an interesting concept, but I don't think that one's going to happen via.
I just think it's better than the with the misconduct. You don't lose. You stay 5-on-5. The guy just stays in the box, but you stay 5-on-5. When you go to a penalty, you're right back on the penalty kill right after they score a goal. That's, to me, it's too much of a punishment for getting the call wrong when sometimes it's a minuscule judgment.
Yeah, well, I've had another belief that at some point the game needs to evolve. There needs to be a 1-minute power play and a 2-minute power play, and the 1-minute power play involves those that are non-harmful, i.e., those silly little hooks from places that are not scoring positions, pucks flipped over the glass, The delayed penalty, or if you make a mistake calling an offside, like you just mentioned, should be a 1 minute penalty. And anything else that's blatant, hooking, tripping, elbows, it just doesn't make sense to me that somebody can come and elbow somebody in the face and get a 2 minute penalty, almost drop blood, break a guy's jaw, and it's the same as a one-handed flick to a guy's stick right now that lifts the stick, or it's the same as a rolling puck that goes over the glass on a play where the guy clearly had plenty of time to make a play and it just bounces on his stick and it goes over the glass. Those two penalties are not equal in severity, and I think they need to find a way to make a 1 minute penalty and continue to keep the 2 minute power play. It will give the referees freedom to call those penalties more regularly and yet not be so harsh, because sometimes they feel, and we all know it, they put the whistles away, right? Because they don't want to call it, especially late in the game, and in the playoffs, they start putting their whistles away because they know it's too severe for such a minor fault. But the 1 minute penalty might allow them to continue to call those things, knowing it's only a minute and they got one or two quick chances, and that's all it's going to be. It's not a full 2 minute power play, which is very, very difficult to kill, because you got to go through 2-3 sets of defensive players, and the other team has lots of time to try and set it up. And so anyway, I think that would be a fun evolution in the next couple of years.
Oh, no, I actually really like that. I do
too.
I'll let Ashley ask this last question because we're coming up on the hour mark.
Ryan's asking, did you have any superstitions before a game, and what team did you hate dressing up to play against?
Well, superstitions we all have superstitions. We all tie our skates the same way. We put our equipment on the same way. We start getting dressed around the same time. I always taped my sticks. Whether the tape was good or not, I pretty much retape my sticks before every game and between every period. So yeah, a lot of little things. I tried not to get in the habit of eating the same thing, walking through the same door, because then if I had a good game and I couldn't get through that door, I couldn't take the same route to the rink, I couldn't eat the same thing for lunch, then I would be worried that it was going to start to affect me. So I just did things that were superstitious, more of a routine that I could control and know were available to me every single night. And as far as the worst places to play, I don't think when you're in the National Hockey League, there is a bad place to play. I think you like them all. A lot of people say Winnipeg's the worst rink in the league. It's the worst place to go in the middle of January. It's 60 below in Manitoba. But ironically, that was one of my favorite places to go, because I grew up 2.5 hours from there in southern Manitoba, and the entire town came to watch when I got to go to play in Winnipeg. All my family was there. The last person out of town turned the lights off. So for me, Winnipeg was great, and everything else was just it was the NHL, and this is what you dreamed of from being a kid. So there never was a bad game or a bad night.
Last question for you, and then we'll close on this. I want to give you a chance to plug the Blues alumni group, because I think they're the best around, and you guys just do a wonderful job.
Well, no, I appreciate that. And I ran the Blues alumni for 8 years, and we've got 40 to 50 guys living in town, coming and going, working, being part of minor hockey, doing charity events, playing in golf tournaments, raising money. The Blues alumni raises around $1 million a year currently, and all that money goes back into the community. We're trying to help youth hockey and different organizations, and it's all a credit to the guys who played the game before of us. A lot of the guys that are a big part of that played back in the 70s, the 80s, and some of us, like my generation, played in the 90s. And a lot of us made St. Louis our home. Very few of them, until Cam Jansen came along and retired back in St. Louis and played for the Blues. Most of us didn't grow up in St. Louis, but we made St. Louis our home because we love the city, the people, and everything else. And it's been our pleasure to give back to the community, and we hope it's made a difference in some people's lives.
Well, look what you've done. Look what you guys done to St. Louis. St. Louis is a hockey hotbed now. We had Trent Fredrickson. He's playing for he was playing for Boston tonight. You've got the Kachuk boys, you've got Clayton Keller, you got the guy up in Montreal, I can't think of his name off the top of my head. There's like 7 or 8 guys from the St. Louis area in the league right now.
Yeah, Logan Brown, of course, is with the Blues right now.
Yep.
Yes, this is all, a lot of that's a credit to some of the alumni who coached these kids growing up, or actually had a large influence on them. Obviously, some of them are alumni kids, but there's others that got the benefit of great alumni coaching. And even if you're not talking about NHL players, there's a lot of guys that got some, got the influence, saw the NHL players around, were inspired by the National Hockey League, inspired by Bernie Federko in the 80s, Brett Hull in the 90s, and wanted to play hockey because of it. And they went on to do great things and go play junior hockey, get a college scholarship out of it, get an education out of it. And now they're back, hopefully in St. Louis, giving back to the game like all the great alumni in St. Louis did, and helping young kids to enjoy the greatest game in the world and make it a little bit better. And yeah, hockey in St. Louis is strong, and we're going to continue to produce players. And, hopefully there's going to be another group of first rounders and NHL players coming out of St. Louis here in the next 5 to 10 years. And we're going to continue to enjoy great success in the hockey world out of that small community.
Yeah, I can't wait till Pat Maroon retires. Right?
Yeah.
What he's going to bring to that
come back.
association. What he's going to bring to that association. Oh my goodness! I bet
Well,
you guys
he'll be
can't.
retiring in St. Louis, so that'll be definitely a boost for us.
Oh, I know. When we at the alumni camp, the Flyers guys, they were saying, man, this is how we need to make our organization. The way the Blues were, they really love that. And then your guys' lounge, you guys have done such a great job with that lounge there and how you treat it. I just got to say thank you to all of you.
Yeah, I think it started with the finances. We had to get the finances under control, and once we started to find a way to earn the money, we set a new standard for locker room and hockey and the ability to do different things and give back to the community. So, the money that the Blues alumni get from the 50-50 and different events around St. Louis help sponsor them, from the firefighters to the police to the less fortunate to minor hockey, and they also help us keep that locker room and keep everybody inspired. And I hope someday that locker room and the Alumni Association in St. Louis is the inspiration for somebody to retire in St. Louis or come back to St. Louis after they're done playing, and make that a reason why, I want to be around, because there's a hockey family there still after the game is over. And we want to continue to make that, continue to grow that.
Well, I actually, again, Terry, thanks so much for showing up and coming on the post game. I know you ended up missing. You were scheduled for the pregame. Something came up. No issue. I appreciate any time you come on. Had a great show with you tonight. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Great
Ashley?
talking to you.
It was just an honor. I really appreciate your opinions.
Right. Well, guys, this is Guy, the Hawaii
Awesome.
Blues
Thank you.
fan. This is Guy, the Hawaii Blues fan, and Ashley Slapshot Jones for our guest, Terry Yake, saying aloha and mahalo, and we'll see you all on the next BleuNote Fan Report tomorrow night. Aloha!